What if the way you clean, fuel, or drive your car is slowly destroying it? Most drivers have no idea they're making mistakes that lead to costly damage. It's not always about major repairs or reckless driving. Sometimes, it's the little things that chip away at your car's health without warning. So, are you damaging your engine with cheap fixes? Could that dashboard light or tire pressure be more serious than you think? Let's begin with a mistake so common, you might not even realize it's a problem. Cracked windshield. It might seem like a minor flaw, but cracks and chips are not just cosmetic issues. They are structural weak points that can seriously compromise your safety, especially in the event of a collision. Your windshield isn't just there to block wind and rain. It actually plays a major role in maintaining the structural integrity of the vehicle. In the event of a rollover, for example, the windshield supports part of the car's roof structure. If the glass is already weakened, that support fails. And in a front-end collision, the windshield helps ensure the airbags deploy in the correct direction. A cracked screen can interfere with this process, but even without an accident, a small crack can expand over time. Changes in temperature, road vibrations, or even just hitting a pothole can cause a minor chip to stretch across the entire surface. Sunlight can heat up the glass unevenly, especially if the crack is already present, accelerating its spread. And once it reaches a certain length or enters the driver's field of vision, most repair shops will recommend a full replacement rather than a patch. Another issue is legality. In many states and regions, it's actually illegal to drive with a cracked windshield if the damage obstructs your view. You can be pulled over and fined, not to mention the insurance complications if you're in an accident and it's found that visibility was impaired. Fortunately, small chips and short cracks can be repaired quickly and cheaply with resin injections that restore clarity and strength. But if you wait too long, the entire panel needs replacing, which is far more expensive. When it comes to glass damage, early action is always the smarter, safer, and cheaper option. If you're the type who tends to ignore those little warning lights on the dashboard, thinking they'll go away on their own, you're not alone. But you're making a serious mistake. Modern vehicles are packed with sensors and systems designed to monitor performance, emissions, and safety. When one of those dashboard lights comes on, it's not just a suggestion. It's your car's way of telling you something is wrong, and ignoring it can allow a minor issue to snowball into a major one. Take the check engine light, for example. Sometimes it's triggered by something as minor as a loose fuel cap, but it can also point to more serious problems, like a failing oxygen sensor or a misfire, which, if left unresolved, could damage your catalytic converter. That's a repair that can run over $1,000 depending on your make and model. And it doesn't stop there. An oil pressure light could be a sign that your engine is running dangerously low on oil. If you continue to drive without investigating it, the engine can seize up entirely, leading to catastrophic failure. That's not a quick fix. It's a full engine replacement in some cases. These lights exist for a reason, and the technology behind them is not random. It's built to alert you before things reach a breaking point. Treating them as background noise means you're risking both safety and money every time you drive. If you want to be proactive, invest in a simple diagnostic tool like an OBD2 scanner. It plugs into a port beneath your dashboard and reads error codes directly from your vehicle's system. It's a quick way to determine if the issue is serious or something you can safely drive with for a day or two. Otherwise, the moment a light comes on, schedule a checkup with a trusted mechanic. Catching problems early often means a small repair now instead of a full breakdown later. Now, while warning lights are the car's way of speaking up, rust is the silent problem that creeps in without saying a word. It often starts as a tiny patch, something you brush off because it looks like just a cosmetic issue. But when ignored, rust spreads faster than most people expect and does far more than ruin your paint job. Rust is a chemical reaction that corrodes metal, and once it sets in, it begins to eat through panels, joints, and even structural components. Surface rust can quickly become scale rust, which penetrates deeper into the metal. Left long enough, it leads to holes in body panels or worse, compromised chassis components. What makes rust particularly dangerous is how often it forms in areas you rarely look at, like underneath the car, around the wheel wells, near door sills, or beneath floor mats where moisture collects. If you live in a region with heavy rainfall, snow, or salted winter roads, you're at even higher risk. The salt accelerates corrosion by breaking down the protective layer on metal and promoting oxidation. And once rust hits brake lines or suspension mounts, it's not just a cosmetic problem, it's a safety hazard. So, what should you do? Regularly inspect your car, especially after winter, and at the first sign of rust, act quickly. Light surface rust can often be removed by sanding the area down, treating it with a rust converter, and repainting it with touch-up paint. For larger or hidden patches, it's worth taking your vehicle to a professional. Body shops can properly cut out corroded areas and weld in replacements. Ignoring rust is one of those mistakes people regret only when the car fails an inspection, or when a repair that could have cost $50 now costs $500. Now let's move on to another everyday mistake people make at the pump: filling the fuel tank to the absolute brim. It might seem like a smart way to stretch the time between fill-ups, especially with prices constantly rising, but overfilling your tank can seriously damage your car's evaporative emission system. Here's how it works. Most modern vehicles are designed with a sealed system that captures and processes fuel vapors to reduce pollution. This system includes a component called the charcoal canister, which absorbs and stores excess vapors before they're purged and burned in the engine. When you overfill the tank, liquid fuel, not just vapor, can enter the system. And that's a problem. The charcoal canister is built to handle vapor only. When it becomes saturated with liquid fuel, it clogs and loses its ability to function. Replacing this part is no small job. It can cost several £100s or dollars depending on the make of your vehicle, and in some cases, it may trigger warning lights or emissions test failures. But that's not the only concern. Overfilling the tank also increases the risk of spillage, which can damage your car's paint if petrol splashes onto the body. Petrol is a solvent. It can soften and discolor paint, and repeated exposure can make the clear coat peel over time. There's a reason why petrol pumps are fitted with automatic shut-off mechanisms. They're there to stop filling at the optimal point, not just for safety, but to prevent pressure from building in the fuel tank. If you regularly ignore that click and keep squeezing a few extra drops in, you're creating unnecessary stress for your car's fuel system. The smarter move? When the pump clicks, stop. That's the level your tank was designed to handle. It's a small habit change, but one that saves you money, prevents emissions issues, and helps preserve your car's paintwork. Now that we've covered what you put into your car, let's talk about how you handle it when the weather turns icy. One of the worst habits during winter is pouring hot water directly onto a frozen windshield to melt the ice. It sounds like a quick fix. You're late for work, the car is iced over, and boiling water seems like the fastest solution. But doing this can lead to a much bigger and more expensive problem: cracking the windshield. The science behind it is simple. Glass expands when heated and contracts when cooled. Pouring hot water onto a freezing surface causes rapid expansion in a material that is already brittle from the cold. This sudden temperature shift puts enormous stress on the windshield and can cause it to crack instantly or weaken it over time. Even if you get lucky and the glass doesn't shatter on the spot, repeated use of this method creates microfractures that gradually grow. Eventually, you'll notice spiderweb-like cracks that weren't there before, and by then, the damage is usually too far gone to repair. A full windshield replacement can cost anywhere from $200 to $500 depending on your vehicle. That's a steep price to pay for a shortcut. There's also another risk people often overlook. If the hot water doesn't drain properly and refreezes in door seals or cracks around the windshield wipers, it can cause additional issues. You may end up with frozen doors that won't open or drainage pathways that get clogged. The safer alternative? Use a commercial de-icer spray available at most auto stores. Or better yet, start your car a few minutes early, turn on the defroster, and let it warm the glass gradually. A plastic scraper can help speed up the process without any risk to the glass. It takes an extra 5 minutes, but it saves you the trouble of a cracked windshield and a costly repair bill. And if this windshield case puts your safety at risk, Overloading your vehicle creates even more hidden dangers that most people don't think twice about. Whether it's packing for a family road trip, hauling tools, or just stacking the boot with heavy shopping bags, exceeding your car's load capacity can quietly wreak havoc on its internal systems. Every vehicle has a maximum payload, which includes the combined weight of passengers, cargo, and anything you might be towing or strapping to the roof. That limit isn't a loose suggestion. It's a number based on how much stress the suspension, brakes, tires, and frame can safely handle. When you overload your car, the suspension system is pushed beyond its designed capacity. This results in uneven tire wear, a noticeable drop in ride height, and poor handling. It also forces the braking system to work harder, meaning longer stopping distances and increased risk of brake fade. On top of that, tires under heavy load are more likely to overheat, which can lead to blowouts, especially at motorway speeds. And in taller vehicles like SUVs, the added strain increases the risk of rollovers when turning sharply. If you're towing without checking your car's tow rating, the consequences can be even worse. You risk overheating the transmission or damaging the engine, particularly on inclines or during sudden acceleration. The good news is that the maximum payload and tow limits are listed in your owner's manual and usually on a label inside the driver's door. Stick to those limits, and if you need to move heavier loads regularly, consider a vehicle built for the job, like a pickup or commercial van. It's far better than unknowingly destroying your suspension or putting your family at risk every time you drive with extra weight. Next up, washing your car with dish soap. It's right there on the kitchen counter. It cuts through grease like magic, and people often assume it'll clean a car just as well. But that assumption can lead to permanent paint damage. Dish soaps are designed to dissolve oils and organic residues on dishes, which means they're extremely good at stripping anything that's protective. Unfortunately, this includes the wax layer or sealant that's guarding your car's paint. The wax doesn't just make your car shiny, it creates a barrier against harmful ultraviolet rays, acid rain, bird droppings, road salt, and debris. When that barrier is stripped away repeatedly, the paint becomes exposed, and over time you'll start to notice fading, cracking, and oxidation. The clear coat, responsible for that glossy finish, also begins to wear out. Without it, your car can look years older than it is, even if the mechanical parts are still in good shape. Even worse, dish soap is usually highly alkaline, with pH levels between 9 and 11. Automotive shampoos, in contrast, are pH balanced to be gentle on coatings while still lifting dirt. Using the wrong soap doesn't just remove grime, it chemically weakens the paint surface itself. Once the damage sets in, fixing it isn't cheap. Paint correction, recoating, or full panel resprays can easily run into the thousands. Instead, use a proper car wash product, which is specifically formulated to clean without compromising the finish. It might cost a little more up front, but it saves you the expense and regret of early paint degradation. And speaking of what should not be used to wash the car, one of the smallest components in your car can trigger some of the biggest problems: your spark plugs. Many drivers overlook them, assuming they're too minor to matter. But using cheap or incorrect spark plugs is like giving your car the wrong heartbeat. These plugs ignite the air-fuel mixture in the engine's combustion chamber. If they misfire, you're not just losing performance, you're actively damaging the engine and other systems. Cheap plugs are often made with low-grade materials that degrade quickly. They wear down faster, provide weaker sparks, and fail to handle engine heat effectively. Incorrect spark plugs are equally dangerous. If you install plugs with the wrong heat range or thread length, it can result in pre-ignition, knocking, or even internal engine damage. Poor spacing or the wrong gap can reduce fuel efficiency and cause inconsistent starts. All of this puts extra strain on ignition coils and fuel injectors, potentially leading to more expensive repairs. One overlooked detail can turn into a domino effect that compromises the smooth operation of the entire engine block. A particular concern is how misfires affect the exhaust system. When a cylinder misfires, unburnt fuel enters the catalytic converter, which isn't designed to handle raw fuel. This can overheat and melt the converter's internal components, a repair that can easily exceed $1,000. That's a steep price for skipping on a 10-pound part. To avoid it, always refer to your car manufacturer's specifications when replacing spark plugs. Platinum or iridium plugs may cost more upfront, but they last significantly longer and ensure more consistent performance. In this case, saving a few pounds now can cost you hundreds later and potentially reduce your car's lifespan. Now, while spark plugs affect how your car runs, the wheels you install directly influence how it rides, steers, and stops. And that's where oversized wheels become a real problem. Bigger wheels can give your car a bold, aggressive look, but if they're not installed with the right supporting modifications, they can throw off everything from your suspension geometry to your braking performance. Here's what people often get wrong. Swapping your factory wheels for larger ones changes the diameter of the tire, which in turn alters your car's effective rolling circumference. That impacts your speedometer accuracy, fuel economy calculations, and even automatic gear shifts in some vehicles. Oversized wheels are also heavier, which adds unsprung weight to the car. This extra weight stresses components like wheel bearings, axles, and struts. Over time, that leads to premature wear, reduced responsiveness, and increased vibration at higher speeds. To make matters worse, these wheels usually require low-profile tires, which have less sidewall height and therefore less cushioning. This means every pothole or uneven surface sends more force through the suspension, making your ride bumpier and noisier, and increasing the chance of bent rims or tire blowouts. Braking is affected too. Heavier wheels mean your braking system has to work harder to slow down the same car. If you haven't upgraded your brakes to match, you risk longer stopping distances and reduced control in emergency situations. And unless your car's electronic systems are reprogrammed or recalibrated, they may misread data from speed sensors or traction control, leading to erratic behavior. If you're determined to go bigger, always consult with a professional. Proper suspension tuning, brake upgrades, and alignment checks are essential if you want your car to handle safely and perform reliably with those oversized rims. And while oversized wheels change how your car handles from the outside, tire pressure affects everything from the ground up, and it's one of the most neglected aspects of car maintenance. Driving with underinflated or overinflated tires might seem minor, but it directly impacts safety, fuel economy, and how your car wears over time. Let's start with underinflation. When tires don't have enough air, more of their surface touches the road. This increases rolling resistance, which makes your engine work harder and reduces fuel efficiency. It also causes the tire to heat up more quickly, which is dangerous. An overheated tire is far more likely to blow out, especially during long drives or high-speed travel. Underinflated tires wear unevenly too. The outer edges wear down faster, which shortens the tire's lifespan and forces early replacement. On the other hand, overinflated tires cause a different set of problems. With too much air, the tire becomes rigid and loses its ability to absorb road imperfections. This leads to a harsher ride, and more importantly, reduces the tire's contact patch with the road, meaning less grip, particularly in wet or slippery conditions. Over time, the center of the tire wears out faster than the edges, making it more prone to skidding and poor traction. Incorrect tire pressure also puts stress on your suspension system, which can throw off alignment and affect steering response. This is especially risky in emergency maneuvers where handling precision matters. Thankfully, avoiding all this is simple. Check your tire pressure at least once a month and always before long trips. Use a reliable pressure gauge, not just your eyes, and compare the reading to the manufacturer's recommended pressure. You'll usually find it on a sticker inside the driver's door or in the owner's manual. That small step not only saves fuel, but also keeps you and your passengers safer on the road. With that, we have reached the end of today's video. If you have come this far with us, be sure to check out other videos on the channel.